any of our meetings, once we get started, it's a reflection of the previous year before we even talk about the next year. So for 2024, we sit down, we're talking about 2023. We're going over everything that we should have done quarterly or maybe monthly to see what we accomplished, what we didn't. Is this stuff we want to carry on to the next year? What that looks like. But I think it's really important because so many things were like, oh, didn't even remember that that happened this year, because a year is a long, long time, right? A lot can happen.
It's always important to just start by reflecting and celebrating. Like you said, I ain't even remember we were trying to figure out if we bought a property this year.
Yeah, we were like, no, that was last year. But because which is another point, write it down, it helps us to know and be able to reflect on, okay, this is what we did. So there's a part where we're writing down what the goals are for 2023, and then there's another part for us to just jot down notes of things that happen each month. Just writing down stuff that is happening each month, I think, is a game changer because it also helps to just reflect on everything that's happening.
What's going on, guys? Welcome to another episode of the More Than a Side Hustle podcast, where we help 9-to-5ers create more impact, income, and influence outside their jobs. This episode is going to be about how to make 2024 the best year yet.
Yes.
Happy New Year.
His name is Anthony, and I'm Janoka.
Yes.
Thank you for coming back for another week. If you didn't already know, you can go ahead and rate us. You can go ahead and subscribe on YouTube as well. We have visuals that match the podcast every single week, and we are here every single Tuesday.
And if you're wondering, if you're brand new here, and you're like, I don't want to rate these guys, and you want to know why you need to listen to us or why you should even tune into this episode, number one, we've been doing these planning retreats, these goal-setting retreats for about 5 years now. And this is the first year we actually went back and looked at our goals from 2018. So we have tons of experience in doing this, whether it's individuals or couples. And I'm sure if you listen to this episode, we'll be able to give you some game and also the best ways to make this your best year yet.
Did we say Happy New Year?
Happy New Year.
I don't know if we said it, but Happy New Year again. Remember, you don't stop saying it until you actually see the person or something like that.
So we're going to say it for the whole year until we see you.
It's always weird of the cutoff, but yes. So we always do, well, we try to do it every December. It doesn't always work out that way. I think last year we did it like the second week in January. So I've seen that a lot as well online, like people getting upset or beating themselves up because they didn't get to write their goals before the year started. That means nothing. As long as you kind of get it done. I've heard some people say, January 8th is the start of their new year, whatever it looks like. But as long as you get it done, that's important. For us, we've been doing this, I think you said, since 2018, where we usually go to a restaurant and have a conversation about our goals. We'll go into detail more about that. But this year, we decided to do something different, and we decided to go sit down in a co-working space. So not as, I guess, fun, if you will, as a restaurant, because we generally maybe go to a steakhouse or something, and we have like computers, iPads, everything on the table while we're eating. But we switched it up this year.
But the challenge with doing that when you go to a restaurant is that you got distractions. So you got the waitress or you got the waiter, you got the management team asking if you guys are good. And if you're there 2-3 hours,
so like just people walking around,
and people walking around and music. So I specifically want to be more intentional about this year versus doing the whole restaurant thing, because it's great, like you get a date night in, but then also you should be able to split those date nights up in regards to what the date night is for. And that goal setting date night thing was just not, especially last year. I was like, we was there for 2-3 hours and it's fun.
You wasn't feeling, so you like this better?
I like this a lot better. So going forward, we're probably we sat in a co-working space for about 4 hours.
Yep.
And one of the things as we go into this episode, I don't want you guys to think about, I know you guys are in the new year. We're in the new year right now. And you're thinking about the New Year's resolution. I don't think we should be thinking about the New Year's resolution. I think we need to be thinking about the New Year's goals. I think that's more important than having a resolution.
It's funny you say that because I was driving today, listening to the radio, and they mentioned, what are you guys' New Year's resolutions? And I kept saying, I was like, do I have a New Year's resolution? Is goals considered to be a resolution? Or I don't think I've had a resolution in a long time. But yeah, I had that conversation with myself in the car of like, wait, I don't got one.
This is one of the posts that I actually posted in 2019. It said, Happy New Year, family. I realized I used the word resolution. In reality, should have been goals. Become detailed in what you want to accomplish, and you should have some pretty lofty goals. And what are some goals you want to accomplish? So in 2019, or is in 2024, let's change resolutions to goals. Write down your goals today. Read your goals daily. Action your goals monthly. And take a gauge of your goals quarterly. Instead of doing resolutions, people. So
what is a resolution?
That's the goals.
I wonder, what's the difference? But so the first thing we definitely want to say is changing your environment. We don't suggest you doing it on your couch, at home, because once again, more distractions. Before we had Alani, the distraction was the dog. And we're like, let's get out the house and do something different. But just to change in the environment helps us to focus and really hone in on what we want to do and what we want to get accomplished in that time. And I think the importance of it this time where we had the 4 hours, Anthony could have went probably 7. And I'm like, no way. We're going to have to cap it at this 4. We're going to have to make sure we get things done within this time frame, because you don't want to just get too tired as well. At that point, you're like, you're not even in it anymore. So changing your environment is really, really important. Go ahead.
And I was going to say, one thing I would change about it is that if we were going to do it longer, probably having more preparation in regards to like food, snacks, ordering. Like that would be one of the things I would do in 2024. If we're going to extend this for a full day, having breaks, having sessions, doing it away from home, maybe on the beach somewhere. And you just go to the beach, you clear your mind for a little bit, and you come back and you get back to work.
Or a staycation or something,
Or a staycation, yeah.
When we were done, I was starving.
Yeah, because just sitting, you locked yourself in a room for 4 or 5 hours. It was kind of ready to go at that point. So that's something I would definitely change, is having more intentions around the structure of the day versus the structure of the meeting itself.
Which brings us to our next point of having structure of the meeting. So we have, I don't know if you guys ever heard of OneNote, but we all have notes on our phone where you can jot down notes. We always kind of have a running list of notes before the meeting so that you're not going in like, what do we want to talk about? You know, you've heard questions, you've heard things that you want to address or kind of think about again, but if you're not keeping track of it, you're not going to remember in that moment. So we make sure we come to that meeting with some type of notes of, you know, how would you rate this year? Just an example, just some things that we want to make sure that we touch on that may be a priority for us currently, so on and so forth. So coming with notes to the meetings, I think, is crucial, because if not, you're just wasting time trying to figure out everything.
Yeah, that's like showing up to a meeting at work without an agenda.
Yeah, essentially.
You spend the first half of the day trying to make the agenda for the meeting versus having the agenda ready to go before you start. And like, it was literally a running list for the year, but I think for that last week, it was just like, okay, like what are some of the topics that we need to discuss at the top of the year so that we can make the changes at the top of the year. So, and it was just literally just scraps in OneNote. You could use Asana, you could use Trello, you could use
your notes on your phone.
Notes on your phone. And if you literally go to your notes on your phone, just start writing.
I gotta run in. I always got a list going. But
so having that, just having that pre-planned agenda, loose agenda before you get to the meeting.
And as you were listening to different podcasts, a lot of people was putting out their podcasts of things, questions they were asking themselves, like, oh, this may be good to ask ourselves. Maybe this is something we've never considered before. But yeah, so changing the environment, having an agenda. This is before you even start. You need to have these things in place when it comes to yearly planning. I don't know maybe if you're new here, but we've always spoken about during the time we were paying off debt, we did monthly meetings. That was something that was a big thing for us. We had fell off from that, got back on the wagon this year, not as strong as we could have, but we're planning to do that again. But I think the monthly meetings also help you, when you're getting to the yearly meeting, because it can be a lot, right? Because some of you are probably like 4 hours is all you needed for the year. But if you're meeting 12 times in a year or more, that helps the meeting move along as well. So I want to touch on that. But
what? Just that part?
Yeah, the monthly meetings as well. That helps us. That can be helpful.
Yeah, and those monthly meetings could even turn into quarterly catch-up. So if you're meetings with someone every single month, and then you have like a quarterly, all right, let's wrap up that last quarter to see what we did. And then also that allows you to do and say, all right, what is it going to look like over the next quarter? Is this something we really want to do? Like, for an example, one of your goals was, do you want to go through one of your goals that you was like, we're just going to remove?
I don't remember what it was. Reading?
It was reading.
That's been Toastmasters. The Toastmasters I removed, but reading has been there every year, and I don't do it, so I removed it. I didn't put it this year.
and it's okay. It's literally, it's literally there every year. Literally okay. If you have a goal on your list that you're trying to achieve, here you go. If you have a goal on your list that you're trying to achieve and it's just sitting there, you're dragging it along, it might not be that important to you.
It said once a quarter. Then it said once a month. Then it went back to 2 a year. And I still haven't done. I'm like,
and we was like, let's just remove this goal, and you'll do it whenever. You'll do it whenever you're ready. So it's okay when you're going through those monthly. Instead of you waiting to the next year and you say, "Oh, I didn't read a single book." If you go through that first quarter, you know damn well you didn't pick up a book the whole quarter. It might be time to remove it or making a more intentional way to get it done. So that was one of those things we said, you know what, we're just going to remove it. It doesn't make sense to have this on there. If it's something that you want to accomplish, you'll pick it up and make sure it gets done.
Yeah. And so with any of our meetings, once we get started, it's a reflection of the previous year before we even talk about the next year. So for 2024, we sit down, we're talking about 2023. We're going over everything that we should have done quarterly or maybe monthly to see what we accomplished, what we didn't. Is this stuff we want to carry on to the next year, what that looks like. But I think it's really important because so many things were like, oh, didn't even remember that that happened this year, because a year is a long, long time, right? A lot can happen. So we're like, oh yeah, we did our first speaking engagement this year. That's big. Oh yeah, we did get another rental property this year. That's big. Because so much happens. It does sound nuts, but so much happens in life or in our life, I don't know, that it's easy to forget or not keep up with it. Or you're just like, yeah, you just move on, right? You don't really celebrate it. But because which is another point, write it down, it helps us to know and be able to reflect on, okay, this is what we did. So there's a part where we're writing down what the goals are for 2023. And then there's another part for us to just jot down notes of things that happen each month. So it could be the goals that we accomplish, but also just maybe podcasts that we've been on or things that's happened in the business, or Alani started to walk in January, things that are important to us. We'll write it down for each month. Now, did we maintain that all year? No. So the second half of the year, we don't know what goals we got because we didn't write it down. Now we forgot. But that is another crucial point for us, is like you plan all this and then you should be meeting regularly. But if you're not, just writing down stuff that is happening each month, I think is a game changer, because it also helps to just reflect on everything that's happening.
And one of the best things about this podcast is that you guys see us in real time as we're going through this stuff too, because I think in 2023, one of our goals was to be more intentional about reviewing our goals.
Damn goals. And
reviewing our goals. So if
you guys, strong. We be starting strong.
We leave the podcast, we leave these meetings, we all have these New Year's resolutions and these New Year goals, and we start out, everyone starts out the gate. Everyone starts out the gate, as a front runner for the New Year's goals, but at some point you end up falling off. But we start the meeting by reflecting and celebrating, because we have to remember where we are so we can know where we're going. Because if you had a whole shitty year, or you felt like a year was the worst year ever, and you go back to your notes and say, you know what?
Actually,
the year wasn't that bad. It was just a bad quarter, or a bad half, or it's not how you start, it's how you finish. It could have been a bad month. It could have had a bad Christmas. So going through and reflecting and celebrating the small wins, I literally had tweeted this the other day, and I was like, you can't appreciate the big wins if you don't know what a small win looks like and feels like to you. Because if you're always waiting for that next big win, like I think I mentioned this in one of the other episodes. It was Matthew Perry from Friends. When he passed, in his book, he said after Friends, he was always chasing that next big thing. He was always chasing that next big goal. He could never appreciate anything that was in front of him, because Friends was such a big show. He was always chasing that next high. So it's always important to just start by reflecting and celebrating. Like you said, I ain't even remember we were trying to figure out if we bought a property this year.
Yeah, we were like, no, that was last year. Went back to our goals. Actually, no, that was this year. No,
literally this year we purchased a whole nother investment property that we forgot about when we were going through our goals.
No, we didn't forget about the house. We just didn't remember it was purchased.
Yeah,
we know the house exists, obviously.
So you have to start by celebrating your wins. And then also another gem that we took away this year was we went back to 2018.
Yeah.
And we went through.
Yeah, you were spending time. I'm like, hello. Were you wasting time? You're like,
so imagine if we started the meeting with a full hour of just going through 2018, 2019, 2020.
Also seeing your growth.
And seeing your growth. Mm-hmm. Like the first goal was like, all right, we want to pay off $15,000 in debt. And then year two, we paid off $114,000 of debt. Mm-hmm. So reflecting on each previous year is super important, I would say.
Yeah. It is. It was exciting to see as well. That's another thing with reflecting. It can be exciting also just to see all the things that you've done, or like, oh, look what we put in place and we were able to accomplish it. But like I said, not everything we're able to accomplish. Why not? How intentional we were. So those are things that we revisit, of not just seeing what we did and didn't do, but if we're bringing it to the new year, is this really important? How are we going to make sure that we accomplish it this year, essentially? So really looking at all the aspects of it. Now let's get into the actual meeting. We break down our goals into basically what we call like 5 pillars, 5 categories, or however you want to explain it. And the 5 categories that we use.
Before you go, I gotta give a shout out to Jamal King, because he came up with the 5 pillars, like labeled it as 5 pillars. For us, it was 3, I think.
We had family, faith, and fitness.
So we had
that was
3.
Always back in the day. We was using hashtags on the page. That was it.
3 main pillars or 3 main categories that we would measure ourselves: family, faith, and fitness. And Jamal King, going through just following his content, 9 to 5 Millionaire, he broke it down to.
Family, faith, finances, fitness, and freedom. So those are the 5 F's. 5 F's we use. The 5 F's we use. And family, I put parentheses as personal development there. And then with finances, that is also personal and business. For us, obviously, we have a few businesses, so we have to go through both sides of it because it looks different, right? So those are the pillars that we measure, write goals under, and things like that could be, are we continuing to measure our net worth, or let's see if we're making changes.
Let's go through each one and give a. So
let's see.
5 pillars. So you got family, faith, finances, fitness, and freedom. So for an example, for family, we'll start with that. So family, you go ahead.
So family, we speak about like date night, having a date night once a month. Make sure that we're doing that. That's crucial for us because we realize anytime we're utilizing the nanny, it's just business essentially, or we're going out in a group setting, which, okay, that's fine, but we need time for ourselves. So putting down a date night, putting that we're going to have it as rotating, meaning I do January, he does February, back and forth, going like that. That's something that we would put down on family. Being more intentional about reaching out to other family members, right?
And friends.
Family and friends, like being very specific of the frequency that we want to do that, who needs to be on that list. Those type of things are important for us. There's times, this year we don't have it, but we've had like net worth on there. We wanted our net worth to grow. That can technically go into finances, but it was something we wanted to be sure that we measure. Travel.
I think travel should go into freedom.
Do you? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, travel's under family for now. We'll move it whenever we can.
So places that we want to travel or places that we have traveled has gone under there. So those are just some examples.
So if we know where we're doing for the year, like if we're aware, many times we are, we put the month and everything at the place that we're going, so what's happening there.
So I'll do fitness and faith. So example for fitness, we said working out. We always work out, so that's not really a goal.
Yeah, I told him not to put it. I don't understand where you put that.
But I said measure my body fat. So that's something I want to do, and then also look into a delivery service. So that's fitness for food. And then faith, we said we want to get back to we were heavily tithers. So getting back to tithing that original amount we were once doing
at that level.
And then also praying before dinner. So when we had Alani, we said we're going to pray every night before she goes to bed, but just making sure we're praying before dinner as well. So that's going to start as early as tonight. It started last night, actually.
Yeah, it did. And then we also had under family, sorry, I know you did fitness and faith, but under family, I said parentheses, personal development. So that looks like whatever each of us want to do on our own accord, right? There's not many times I want to do things on my own accord, to be honest. But he has now reading a book. But he does read, so there's a difference there.
Book right now I'm reading is 10X is Easier Than 2X by Dan Sullivan. Great book. And then I'll probably go into the 12-week year. Yeah, the 12-week year. I never put that into place, so I think that would be a good book to read at the beginning of the year.
I also just want to attend some webinars of some content creation because I'm interested in it. It's just a matter of doing it, seeing what other people are doing, getting that information. So that's something that we had down for personal development. Now, finances, that can be a range of things, right? So we have 401ks outside of our 9-to-5s, which, because I'm the only one there, at a 9-to-5. So figuring out how much we want to continue to fund that, what that looks like. We've spoken about before in our debt-free journey that we have sub-accounts for different things, for travel, for gifts. Before we even had Alani, we had a sub-account for a potential baby. So there's some other sub-accounts that we want to put in place that would help us at the end of the year or throughout or whatever that looks like. That's something else.
Businesses, we got a
Businesses,
ton.
which is the finances.
So we spend a
part
lot
of
of
the
time.
business.
We spend a lot of time on businesses outside of finances. So I'll give you guys an example. So one of the things we would like to do is, let's see, maybe pay off one of our investment properties. Yeah. We said that might be a goal.
That might be a big goal.
For Cleaning Business University, we said we had a number of members that we want to achieve and some strategy sessions around our community. We said that. And then the podcast, we want to get more sponsorships. So if you guys know any sponsorships or people who are looking for podcasters who are committed, who are entertaining, who are actually good looking, who can keep doing this thing on and on, make sure y'all send them our way. YouTube, we got some numbers that we want to hit there. And then also some hires for our business that we want to hit.
Yeah, so that's a quick overview of what. Where's my thing at? It's a quick overview, of what our goals kind of look like when it comes to those pillars. But that's what we use throughout for the past, I don't know how many years. Those are the pillars that we use, and we break it down from there.
So to recap, so that's family, faith, finances, fitness, and freedom.
Yeah.
So freedom is normally if you want to travel, if you want to do more. What does that look like for you?
What does freedom look like for you? We can't answer that for you, but SMART goals is what we always suggest. I think everyone has heard of it, but I'm going to list what SMART goals are. So they have to be specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and timely, basically. So for example, if you have a goal to write a book, what a SMART goal looks like is spending 1 to 2 hours each day writing 300 words for the next 6 months. It's very specific. You can't just be like, all right, write the book. When, how, where's the time? Be realistic about it. I think a lot of times.
Who do you need to help you write the book?
Who do you need to help you? Another good one is always, losing weight. We go with this random number. Like, okay, by when? And how are you going to do that? What are you going to do differently? All those things are necessary when doing these goals. And so we break that down further. We didn't go into that specifically for ours, but when we were just telling you, but that's how we break it down further of is this realistic? And that can be, when it says achievable, that's the word. I found that one to be a bit, not funny, but it can be tricky because a lot of times, and we've had an episode on this about sometimes we set our goals too small.
If you go through your list and you hit every single goal, that means your goals are too small.
Yeah. So a lot of times we set our goals too small because we're doing it on the safe way, right? Because we're like, oh, this is achievable. But there may be a bigger number or something else that can be achievable as well, but we're too scared to write it. So I think achievable can be tricky, but I understand what they're saying. You don't want to say I want to lose 50 pounds in a month. Obviously, I get it. I understand what they're saying in that regard, but shoot for the stars.
Yep.
Right? You may be like, 3 pounds when it could be 7. I don't know. You know what I mean? So shoot for the stars when it comes to having these goals, but making sure they're very specific, they're measurable, they have an end date to it, and being realistic about that. Because some of our goals were like, okay, that's not till Q3. Let's be real. We're not we ain't gonna be able to touch that right now, but that's not till Q3. But when we're having these quarterly meetings or monthly meetings, we can see and prepare we said we're gonna do that Q3. Maybe I start getting information so that when Q3 is here, I can actually implement it, right? So that would be making sure you have those SMART goals. We spoke about writing down your highlights for every month. So once we come up with all these goals,
how do you break that down?
Huh?
Writing down your highlights for every month. How do you break that down?
So the way that we do it, once again, using this OneNote, which they probably should do a sponsorship because we use their name a lot here. They have sub pages that you can do, and literally you write every single month down, January, February, March, straight down. And anytime something's happened, we would write it in there, right? Something happening being important in our family, our businesses, maybe money. It just depends. We would just write it in the January tab, so on, so forth. I wouldn't say to wait to the end of January because once again, if you got memory like me, I ain't gonna remember. But if it happens, then we'll write it.
For us, one of the things we put down was travel to Panama. Yeah, you could go back through your flight miles and all of that. Yeah. But we just said travel to Panama.
Travel to Panama for grandfather's 90th birthday. That's a highlight for us. Last year, the first time we were on a stage, that was a highlight for us. Like I said, Alani started to walk. That's a highlight for us. Or different podcasts that we're on, which is something we should keep track of anyway, because at the end, we're like, I don't even remember that one or whatever, right? So just different things, milestones and things that we hit. That's simply how we write it down, just by putting the month and writing down what happened.
And then
as it happens.
Also, if you guys own a business or you have a team, speaking to your team about what your goals are as
Those are the next steps,
as a business owner, as a CEO. Because sometimes they get excited because you're excited about what the year looks like. So if we say we got this big goal for Cleaning Business University to bring in this amount of students, now
everybody needs to know.
Now you know what the goal is. Now you know what your actions are. Now we can start having those conversations around what do you need to do to contribute to help the company get to those goals. If we said we need somebody for the podcast to do this, that, and the third, what do you need for us to be able to get there and get to those goals? So it's important to take not only just keep those goals to yourself, but then also bring it to other people. Accountability is huge. We need to speak about accountability, but when you have this, if you haven't had this meeting already, or you're thinking about getting into this meeting, this goal setting meeting. What?
I just thought when you said accountability, I'm like, well, we have each other, but everybody's not in a relationship.
Exactly. So if you had this meeting with someone, you should probably do this meeting with a coworker, a family, a friend, a spouse, whoever it is, so that you can remain accountable. So when you're doing these quote unquote check-ins, they could check you. I was listening to this podcast and they actually have a retreat where couples and friends actually go away and they do this type of meeting for a weekend. And it's like, what did you do last year? You said you were going to do. What didn't you accomplish? Why not? How can we help you get there? So having accountability is super important when you're doing these type of meetings so that you can know where you need to go, and also they can know, all right, you're not going to achieve this. Let's have that hard conversation about you removing it from your list of to-do things.
Yeah, so once you set these goals, you're good with it, you're like, all right, like you said, if you have teams or other people that need to know about it, then making sure you make them aware so everybody's on the same page, everybody's working towards the same thing, and you go from there. I think one thing that we didn't touch on at the beginning, but even in these conversations, there could be, hard conversations that come up when it comes to goals, right? I may be thinking this, you may be thinking that. I thought this was great. You may think, we have different ways of thinking. So being open to those hard conversations going into goal setting, I think is important. It's not always just fun, right? It's not always you're having the conversations of maybe we spent too much here, or maybe we got to cut back. That can be something that have people not make it an easy conversation when it comes to money. All these things are being discussed. So I think making sure you're open to the conversations in that right space of mind when you're going into this type of meeting is crucial as well. Should have said it at the beginning, but just thought about it.
Yeah, so you leave these meetings, you're super excited. You're like, what do I do next? What do I do next? So I would say these need to be placed somewhere where you can see them daily. So that's one of the hardest things. You got a whole list of things. So maybe when you break it down quarterly, all right, these are the biggest goals I need to accomplish in this first quarter, and then put them on a sticky note somewhere or a whiteboard. We got tons of whiteboards in our other room, and then maybe seeing those 3 top big goals that you need to accomplish for Q1 for you to say, I accomplished that goal, so you can see it every day. And that would probably be the first thing I would do.
And then also, if you're like, well, this initial meeting, we just need to get the ideas out. Now we need to have another meeting to make it more specific, make it more measurable. Like, that's okay too if you need to separate that, because it can be a lot at one time, right? It can be a lot and you don't have the time, you don't have the capacity. So making sure that you do break it down further if needed. If you can't do it initially, just do another meeting where you're able to really break it down so that you can start to execute on what you set in place. So
yeah, that one is crucial, because I think even us, we got to go back to some of our goals and start to break them down a little bit more versus just having the big head going. We're literally looking at the goals right here in front of us.
And then like assigning it, right? For us, we're going to have to be like, all right, so who's taking this on specifically? Like some things, it's going to have to be delegated to someone. Can't just be like, all right, we got this. All right, but who's doing it? Right? So that's another thing, making sure if there's other people that is involved, it's delegated out. If it's you, it's you. It's you. And you start to work on it as well. So we wanted to just make sure that we shared an overview of what our family meeting looks like year after year for the past 5 to 6 years. Helps us to keep on track, helps us to grow every year. If you have other ideas or things that you do that maybe we didn't mention, we didn't touch on, let us know in the comments. Anything that resonated with you that maybe you're going to start implementing, let us know in the comments. Yes. As well. So
yes, this is how to make your 2024 the best year yet. This is another episode of the More Than a Side Hustle podcast. You're your gracious host, and if you could leave us a review, share this with somebody, or just write a comment.
Goals for podcast too.
Listen, we got to keep this thing going. We got to keep this thing growing. So appreciate you guys, and once again, Happy New Year. We'll see you next week.
Happy New Year. Bye.